The Chicago Bears are prepared to roll out the red carpet in the recruitment of Mike McCarthy, much to the dismay of a lot of Bears fans. We're going to take a look at that. Plus, Caleb Williams makes known what he wants in his next head coach, and the Chicago Bears are also predicted to make some shocking hires over the course of the time. We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Chicago Bears have completed yet another interview. They have completed an interview with David Shaw. This is the guy that, not a lot of people expected the Bears to hire when it comes down to it. He's former Stanford coach. He's currently in the front office of the Denver Broncos, and they've interviewed him now for their head coaching vacancy. Now, he had some success in college at Stanford. Now, I know that a lot of Bears fans look at this coaching search and they want a proven coach, whether it be somebody who's coached at the NFL level at a coordinator or a head coaching role. David Shaw was somebody that kind of surprised a lot of Bears fans when it came down to him being on their list of requested interviews. But they've completed that interview now. The same people who are involved in it when it come down to it. As far as Shaw, he took over from Jim Harbaugh at Stanford. They had a pretty good record there. When you look at it, a record of 96-54 from 2011 to 2022. He had 4 double-digit win seasons and had a bowl game in 8 seasons, from 2011 to 2018. So it is what it is, right? We'll see what comes down to it when all that's said and done. I don't expect David Shaw to be somebody who actually gets this job. But when you look at who he coached over the course of time as far as NFL talent, Andrew Luck, Christian McCaffrey, Zach Ertz, Andres Pete, Austin Hooper, and also Blake Martinez. So he's coached a lot of different NFL-level talents. That really doesn't mean that he's going to be successful when it comes down to it. But he has now completed an interview with the Chicago Bears. Our list is up to 20 candidates when it comes down to it. It is what it is. Mike McCarthy's interview is expected to go down today. It's the in-person interview. And from what we're hearing, and I know, I talked about this a little bit yesterday, the fact that the Chicago Bears are bringing in Mike McCarthy in person, I do think that shows a little bit difference. Now, he is also eligible to interview in person, whereas some of the other candidates were not. But according to Sylvie from the Waddle and Sylvie show, says this: the Bears are set to take Mike McCarthy out to dinner afterwards and have a sit-down meal. And on top of that, word is I got that the plan is that they're going to wine and dine him afterwards, that they've got a room set up to have one of these dinners with him. This is the most in-depth that we've heard on the Chicago Bears coaching interview yet. And it just is what it is. When you look at it, Mike McCarthy is one of, I think the only other person to get an in-person interview was Ron Rivera as well. But the Bears did not take Ron Rivera to dinner afterwards, right? Rivera's interview took place on a Sunday. It was more straightforward when it came down to it. When you look at the way that the Chicago Bears are going after this, that shows how they feel about Mike McCarthy as a head coaching candidate. And I know I stirred up it on both Twitter, even though I didn't mean to, and in the comment section here, which more of you guys kind of were more level-headed about it. The crazies on Twitter, they be tripping, about it. But listen, when it comes down to it, Mike McCarthy's record speaks for itself. And as much as people want to say, well, he had Aaron Rodgers, he had this, look at what happened when his DC left. It doesn't matter. His record as a head coach is his record as a head coach. And so we'll see what happens when it comes down to it. 11 postseason victories, also 11 postseason losses. He won a Super Bowl. He has a career record of 174 and 112 with 2 ties in that as well. He's a 61-year-old coach. He brings that resume that the Bears are reportedly looking at, but it doesn't mean that he's going to get the position. It doesn't mean that he's going to accept the position even if it's offered. But what we're seeing right now by the Chicago Bears, it's evident. The Bears view him as one of their top candidates. Now, I do think that something that's going to be telling in this is once the Bears are able to have an in-person interview with Ben Johnson, Does he get the same level of treatment that Mike McCarthy's getting, if it even gets to that point? Make no mistake about it, right? I do think that the Bears want to wait to have an interview with Ben Johnson. But if Mike McCarthy puts any pressure on this organization, I would not be surprised if the Bears go ahead and hire Mike McCarthy. Now, I don't want that to happen. I want the Bears to have a sit-down interview with whoever is on their short list. And I've been saying for a while, however they do the second round of interviews is going to be really telling for how they view some of these coaching candidates. But I'll tell you what, the way that they're going about this interview with Mike McCarthy is adding another level to that. To be able to, bring him in for an in-person interview, to plan a sit-down dinner with him afterwards. Listen, I think that things are going away that I said it before. As many Bears fans that aren't necessarily as happy with it, Mike McCarthy right now, I personally feel like, is one of the favorites to land this job. It may be the favorite by Bears fans, depending on what happens with Ben Johnson. Now, again, they can only do so much with Ben Johnson as of right now. There are NFL rules that kept them from having too long of an interviewing him in person, anything like that. But once that is available and something that they can do, that's going to tell us a lot. I think that's going to tell us a lot. And the way that they're dealing with this Mike McCarthy interview, it shows the level in which they view him at. We've heard already the Chicago Bears plan on flying coaches out privately, which is something they should have been doing anyway, just wanting to have the look of a top-notch organization. And so with that said, the Bears they're already rolling out this red carpet for Mike McCarthy. And I do think personally, this says a lot about how they view Mike McCarthy when it comes down to it. And we'll see. We'll ultimately see. And it's really starting to turn into, it seems like, a three-man race in the hearts of the Bears and Bears fans. Of course, Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, Mike McCarthy because he's an op. It seems like those are the three via what the media is talking about and otherwise that are really starting to lean towards it. Now, we also got some update on the way that Ben Johnson may be leading. Says this. This one comes from Ben Zimmerman. But the belle of the ball is Ben Johnson. The Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, going back weeks, it's been reported that Ben Johnson and the Bears have mutual interest and that Johnson is intrigued of the idea of coaching Caleb Williams. Is Johnson's preference to go to Chicago? Perhaps. Las Vegas or Jacksonville is higher on his list. Nobody around the league seems to have a strong idea from Johnson's camp which way he's leaning, and he seems to be pretty tight-lipped on the subject, as he should be. But if you listen to the media, it's clear the Las Vegas Raiders are doing a full-court press to get Johnson to Nevada. Now, I respect the way that Ben Johnson's handling this. Ben Johnson has the power, so to say, right now, because the way that he decides to lean, whenever he decides to sign with the team as their next head coach, that's when a lot of the other dominoes are going to fall. A team like the Raiders are not going to make a decision until they have a firm answer from Ben Johnson. And the Bears, they also may wait. As much as they're rolling out this red carpet for Mike McCarthy, they may very well wait until Ben Johnson makes his final decision. Now, via that can make you miss out on some candidates if you're waiting for Ben Johnson, considering where his team is, how far they can go in the playoffs, things like that. But it does seem like a lot of teams are looking at this, and this is Ben Johnson's race. This is the race to Ben Johnson, make no mistake about it. Now, I have my own thoughts and leanings on how that happened. The question that I always have to this is this. How many times has a unproven head coach, a coach that hasn't done it yet, and that's because Ben Johnson hasn't been given the opportunity, it actually worked out the way that people think it's going to work out? And that's something that the Bears also have to look at when it comes down to it, right? Now, we also from it as well, we got some thoughts on George. It says this: George wants Ryan to run this. Kevin will get what he needs to keep him involved, but it's Ryan's decision and Ryan's running point. Philosophically, George views it as a football stays football, even though the reporting structure is Ryan going to Kevin. George wants football people making football decisions. Listen, I know it's just lip service right now. We got to see if George McCaskey is truly going to stay out of the way to let the football people make football decisions. But this should not be something that's so surprising by organization. You know what the Lions owner does? She has her say. She talks to people. She kind of oversights, but she gets out the fucking way and lets football people do football things. That's what we've needed here for so long, with the Chicago Bears, is allow the football people to make the football decisions. George, your job, your strength is not in football decisions. He has said that. So hopefully George McCaskey can get his ass out the way and let the football people make the football decisions. Now, that still puts the onus on those people to make the right decisions, and if they don't, they need to be held accountable. But let the football people make the football decisions, right? So we'll see what happens with that one. Now, it is said in the way that the Bears are doing the interview as well, is that as of right now, is that the coaches have been giving private time with the owner away from like Kevin Warren, away from Ryan Poles. And I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, it is what it is when it comes down to it. Every organization has its own structure and things when it comes down to it. But the way that this situation is going for the Chicago Bears, right? This coaching search, ESPN even recently predicting that Brian Flores would be the head coach of the Chicago Bears, saying this: there are hurdles for Flores, who appears to be a strong candidate for the Jets job as well. To clear before any team can hire him, that's especially true in Chicago. There will be questions about his past relationship with quarterback Tua in Miami as the Bears evaluate him as a candidate to shepherd Caleb Williams' development. By all accounts, it sounds like Flores has made a very different impression on people in Minnesota than he did in Miami. He's been public about the reasons why things went wrong for him with the Dolphins and what he has learned from the situation that would make things a different at his next step. One more relevant note here: Flores and the Bears GM Ryan Poles both went to Boston College, so there's a connection there. So I mean, listen, we'll see, right? And ultimately, the Bears owe it to themselves to do all their due diligence possible. There's going to be some questionable moves. There's going to be some questionable hires. There's going to be some questionable things that Bears fans look at and they're like, hey, we're not quite sure about this. But as I said, and I've tried to separate myself from, you have when it's all said and done, the results are going to be told on the football field. That's it. The results are going to be told on the football field. That is the most important thing. So if they hire somebody, like I told you guys, as much as I'm talking about the reality of the chances that Mike McCarthy could be hired and a favorite here, he's not my favorite. But I do have a level of objectivity about what he could bring to this team that could very well help where this team has been and where we're trying to go. Now, it's up for that to actually be proven through whatever. But, ultimately it comes down to we got to see what's going to happen. And we got to hope that this Bears team can, for once, get their fucking shit together. Right? Excuse my French. But that's what we got to hope, because we got a quarterback here in Caleb Williams that has shown some promise. He has some things that he needs to work on, absolutely. He needs to develop. He needs to fix some things. He needs to solve some things. And the next head coach, whether they're offensive-minded or defensive-minded, they are the ones shepherding that growth via whoever they decide to be the quarterback's coach, whoever they decide to be the offensive coordinator. That's all things that they have to decide on and that they have to make a decision on. And so you got to get the right guy in here. You can't just get a body. We've had a lot of bodies in this bitch. We can't just have bodies anymore. We got to get somebody who's actually going to come in and command things. And that's also what Caleb Williams has said. Caleb Williams in the St. Brown podcast, even though I cooked their asses, said this as far as what he's looking for in the next coach. Strong-minded, a leader of men. Selfishly, I want an offensive-minded guy so I can build with him and be with that coach for the next 19, 17, 15 years. Hey, listen, we'd love that here in Chicago as long as you're successful. And so I can learn and grow from him, from what he's seen, gone through. So that's selfishly. But Caleb Williams also points out that he understands that the Bears have to get back to winning, right? And that's the thing that we have to do. He says this: but if we can get an overall grand scheme coach and is good with time management, good with helping control the game, it's a big factor, obviously. Helping find the right guys to win championships, that's the only goal that I have. Just a dude that's got a fire to him. I don't want people that don't have a fire. I got a certain fire about me inside of me that certain people can't coach. Certain people can't be around, or it doesn't work. I mean, listen, I know the Caleb Williams rookie season has a lot of different views depending on the Bears fans that you have. Some comparing him to other quarterbacks in the class, and that's going to happen. You can't avoid that. And getting the right guy that can match the mentality, I think that's the part that I'm coming out with this. If you can have the guy that matches the mentality, right, or at least can bring that out, to knows how to focus that, how to channel it, and how to use it for greatness, that's what you need. We know that we've heard the same rhetoric from the Chicago Bears as far as the leader of men. We need that. But how you lead is important. And so the Bears need that. Your quarterback's calling for it. Your quarterback is asking for it. So that's what we need to get onto this path with, is find a guy that can come in and lead this damn team. That's what we want. And listen, y'all know I love Marie Fassah, right? But for people that look at Mike, we don't want no ops. At this point, I agree. I don't want no op. But guess what? If that op can actually come in and help, that's the most important thing here. And I'll tell you what, Mike McCarthy also, they could do a damn good job at picking some coordinators. And what do we need here? Is somebody who can pick some solid coordinators. We got a lot. that we need to solve and that we need to fix and that we need to get together with this team. This organization is far enough away from truly competing for anything meaningful that we need people who can come in, lay a groundwork. And, the people were saying, we want a ceiling raiser, not a floor raiser. Listen, the one thing that I love and hate about this community is that the way when they catch on to one phrase that somebody says and then they just echo that and reverberate that, think for your goddamn self. Like, come on now. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing as a franchise, right? That's the question, and that's the answer that we're all looking for here is what are we doing as a franchise? How can we get to what we're trying to get to? And that's just what we need. We got tons of work that we need to do. We got positions that we need to get in gear. We got to reshape that offensive line. We got some work to do on the trenches on both sides. We got some skill things that we need to do. And also, the one thing that I think is overlooked in a lot of this as well, especially with the Bears looking at some defensive-minded head coaches, we got to get a different defensive scheme in here because clearly what we have is not working. It doesn't bring out the best in the players that we have here. I think that Matt Eberflus scheme that we're using is a bit antiquated. I think that we got a lot of things that we need to work on and we need to do here. And so we got to get this coaching search right because we don't have a future if we don't get this right. So let's hope that the Bears can find that right path. Let's hope that we can get on the right path overall as an organization. And I get it. There's a lot of doubt that's going to be shared around. There's a lot of angst that's going to be shared around. All that things happening. But whether it's Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, Pete Carroll, Mike McCarthy, as long as they can come in here and we could start winning, then we can start worrying about some of that other stuff. We can start worrying about some of that structural stuff, right? Because we got to get this shit together. And this is what it is when it comes down to it. So you guys, as always, can let me know how you feel down below. This show is yours as much as mine. I love you guys, man. Thank you guys for making Chicago Bears Central what it is. We've talked about what? 14 wins? 14 wins over the course of 3 years of doing this show. That's how many wins the Chicago Bears have had. So when y'all come at C-Dub, when y'all come at me, when y'all come at Bobby, Steve, or whoever it is for our opinions, remember, we're delivering this content and we're not front runners. We don't disappear when the Bears are losing. We've been here every single day for 3 years. Every single day. Go and look at what some of the other channels do. Go and look at when the offseason goes, how they go around. The people that put in work here, shout out to Bobby, shout out to Dub, shout out to Kev, shout out to Steve-O, the work that these motherfuckers put in here every single day to bring y'all content and to talk about this team that's been stuck in fucking purgatory for years on end. Remember that. Remember that. Difference of opinions is fine. We're all going to disagree. But you know what we all want? What every Bears fan wants? Every Bears fan wants this team to fucking win. That's just really it. Let that be the thing that connects us all. We just want to win, right? And yeah, we may all have different views on how and what's the best way to get there. That's fine. That's going to happen. It's sports. But in putting in this work, like I said, I want to thank y'all for the way that y'all support us. I want to thank y'all for the way that y'all uplift us. I want to thank y'all for showing up to the live streams for games that the Bears are getting kicked, their ass kicked in. Y'all still show up and support Dub. And we're going to keep bringing that content every single day. We are not going away. So show some love. Leave a 5-star review over on iTunes. Do it over on Spotify. If you listen on Spotify, go hit that subscribe button over on YouTube, man. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you guys are staying in tune with us at Shy Bear Central, which we're starting tweeting more. We're getting that social media active. You can also follow us you can follow us at Shy Bear Central. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.